are we and why are we here?
We are on the kind of edge of the gay village in Manchester. One of the things that I did want to show you was this NCP car park.
Yeah.
So, for me, this NCP car park has quite a lot of significance. At the junction at the bottom of the street here is where the men's room, the blue room as it was then, started. Gazebo on the street, directly working with the lads that were presenting, was working but weren't presenting anywhere else for support. So they weren't identifying as LGBT, they weren't identifying as men that wanted support around criminality, they were men that were working and selling sex. Yeah. And this is where I got involved with it. My background is detached work, my background is working on the streets, predominantly with some of the most challenging men around gangs, all that sort of stuff in my past. But when I was asked by Graham and Kate to come down and kind of meet the lads here, and then latterly in what was a hairdresser's, we used to use a space just on the other side of the street there. My experience of work is that I wasn't judgmental. I didn't have stereotypes anymore. I always thought that by the nature of the work I was involved with, I had to be able to adapt and able to come open-minded and not be concerned about someone's past to actually build a relationship. But when I walked into the space the first time, I've told this story before, but I think I had a preconception in my mind that I was going to be working with a group full of gay men. And it was so not that. It kind of a little bit took me aback. It was like, okay, there's lads here. There was a couple of lads that were like openly and discussing the fact that yes, they were gay men and they were selling, but the majority of the rest of the men that we were engaging were men that were on the edge of everything and kind of making money to survive. So it was a combination of grafting, robbing, shoplifting, selling. Some of the lads were even looking at how the lads that were selling sex were making it, and then kind of going, okay, well I'll engage in that way and I'll go as far as the point of having to provide a service, but then I'll mug someone. Yeah, so it was kind of everything in between. One of the things that really stood out to me in conversation was one of the men said that, because I always ask sometimes maybe too direct questions, but I'm interested, so I'm honest, and it's the question that came into my head. And it was like, can I ask why you choose to sell sex in yourself rather than well, what's that all about in your head? And he was like, well, I choose myself rather than hurt others. There was a level of survival that person had got to where they were choosing criminality or soliciting. And that kind of it slammed me. I suppose that's why I've been involved in Imagery. It's how do you provide service that, listen, these guys don't even know what they're missing as a culture. They're nowhere near the 5 steps to well-being. They're so far off the radars. You've got to work in a way that they start to understand the creative language, the importance of creativity, see the things that they've missed through no fault of their own, and try and backfill some of that information until you get to a point where someone knows what's happening to me is wrong, and I can see why it's wrong, and I can see a way out of that situation. And I think that's what the men's room does incredibly well. It brings people back to a point through conversation, through the arts, through all the different forms of intervention, but most importantly through the honest communication and relationship that you build with another human being. I'm not a gay man from Manchester. I don't necessarily choose to socialise in this area, but I work in this area, and I see, in some respects, through my life experience, is that I will see Manchester in a very different way to most others. And I bring that to the men's room. I kind of, through door work and security and lots of other things we've discussed in the past, I'll be looking at people going, I kind of know what you're up to. I'm a little bit wary of you because your body language is a little bit off, because you bring all of these different life skills and you have to have them to engage at the men's room. It isn't all happy endings, and it's not all about this, you do this and you will be fixed. We're not here to fix anybody. The lads have to find a way of fixing themselves, but what we offer is a reflection back that is different to the one they get on the street. We give them a safe space, reflective space, somewhere they can be warm, get some food, be creative, check in with everybody. It's important. That's kind of where the Blue Room started.
Yeah.
But one of the first interactions I had with one of the men was about how important this spot was for him.
The corner at the top.
The corner at the top. And he would go up there to get away from all of this. But from up there he could see all of it. So he used to talk about he liked getting high up so he could kind of watch what everyone else was up to, and then he'd see when his punters were around or when people he wanted to engage with were around, he'd come down and he'd go and do what he needed to do to survive, I suppose. But then he also talked about one floor down from the top in that corner is where he used to sleep, and for a long time that was his spot. So he'd work literally on this street, from either this street corner here on this junction or further down on that junction. That's where he stayed, so he could see everywhere he needed to be. And I'd kind of just to finish that bit off, there is the fact that we've always chosen to bring the work to where the lads are, and we look to hire space. We do all of our delivery is outside the normal working hours. It has to fit what fits with the men. If you try and get these guys to fit into a box for a social worker or a health worker or a job centre or even a dentist or whatever it is, they don't exist in those hours. So you have to look at your provision being adaptable enough to mirror their lives, but not mirror it so much that you get pulled into the chaos with it. Yeah, it's a very fine line. Kind of watch this space.
Yeah.
It's everything's changing in Manchester. Everything's kind of changing the world over. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of financial deficit. There's a lot of people in need, and it puts a lot of pressure on this sort of work. But as we always say with the lads, is feel the fear and do it anyway. And you kind of, if you say that, you kind of got to do it yourself as well.